With the right tips, you can study 2 hours a day, have time for yourself, your friends, and your hobbies, and get better grades than you ever have before. Over the last 3 years of medical school, I've gotten a high distinction GPA, all while studying 1 to 2 hours a week. I'm not telling you this because I want to brag, but because I know I'm not special and that anyone can do this following the right steps. In this video, I'll help you achieve exactly the same by sharing all of those steps with you, and the first of them is to fix your time management problems. A massive problem with our education system is that it tells us constantly that we need to work harder if we want to do better, even though this isn't true. To fix your time management skills, the first thing you have to get into your head is the equation that time spent studying does not equal knowledge gained. If you gave yourself 10 hours to study in a day, you'd probably spend a lot of that time procrastinating. And even if you did any work, it would probably look like writing notes or rereading your textbook again and again, which wouldn't be very effective. So you might be thinking, Emil, how do I improve the quality of my studying hours? Well, the first step is prioritizing what's important. If you only had 1 or 2 hours in a day to study instead of 10, you'd immediately start thinking about what was the most important thing that you needed to get done in that time. You'd have way less time to procrastinate, and you'd probably only write notes on the most important concepts and then start applying your knowledge using practice questions. All of this is backed up by the Pareto principle, which states that 80% of the results from anything come from 20% of the efforts. If you're always prioritizing the 20% that is most important, you'll be so much more effective in the time that you study. The next step is managing your energy, which is so important if you want to use your time effectively. I have so many people come up to me and tell me that they can't concentrate when they're studying and that they're always procrastinating. The thing is though, that most of these people don't actually have issues with procrastination, but with how they're managing their energy. You have to imagine that every day as you wake up, you have an energy bar that's filled at 100%. As you go about your day and start doing things, your energy bar is naturally going to decrease. And by the time you come home from school, work, or uni, your energy will probably be around 30 or 40%. Think to yourself, if you try to make yourself study at this point, do you think you'd be able to? Well, the truth is that you might be able to, but it would probably be a struggle. And when you force your brain to do things, that's what leads to procrastination. So you might be thinking, how do we fix this problem? Well, the first step is that you need to conserve your energy wherever you can. If you do things like sleep less than you need, drink too much alcohol, or eat really unhealthily, you'll be waking up starting the day at 70 or 80% energy to begin with. Also, doing things during the day like scrolling on your phone, gaming, or watching adult content all overstimulate you and therefore drain your energy. If you switch out these things for activities like meditation, exercise, and music, you'll be able to fill up your energy bar instead. What people don't realize is that you can organize your day around your energy levels, and this is the secret that has allowed me to be so efficient in the time that I study. For most people, your energy is going to be highest in the morning, so it makes sense to do your most important work in that time. This means that your energy will almost be at 100%, and the work you do will be completely in the flow state, allowing you to be so productive. So now you might be thinking, how should I work to maximize my efficiency? Well, the first problem that most people run into is that they engage in passive forms of studying. These include things like writing long and detailed notes, rewriting your notes, and summarizing and highlighting. When you engage in these types of studying, you'll find that you think studying is boring, you often zone out when you're studying, and you can feel your brain almost glaze over when you're doing it. So what should you do instead? Well, the feeling that you're zoning out or that your brain is glazing over is a telltale sign that your studying is too passive. When you're studying, try to do things that feel difficult instead. For example, when you're writing notes, try and restrict the number of words you're allowed to write, or try thinking about the relationships between concepts and ask yourself why you're learning something in the first place. This feeling of difficulty while studying is called cognitive load, and having a higher cognitive load while studying is linked to your brain forming new connections and actually learning the things that you're studying. But there's more, because there's a massive mistake that so many students make when they're studying that means they have to study for so much longer. The thing is, learning is a lot like building a house. If you're a normal person, when you build the house, you start by building the foundations. You'd pour in the concrete, set up the frame, build the walls, put the roof, and then you'd start moving on into the things that are inside the house. What you wouldn't do is pour in your concrete, then put in all the furniture and your paintings, and then start working on the frame, the walls, and the roof. The problem is though that this is how most people approach learning. When they approach a topic, they don't place any foundations and they go straight into trying to rote memorize all of the details. The problem with this is that the details then have no foundation to build off of, which makes them so much harder to remember. The trick to studying so much more efficiently is to always build your foundations first. What this looks like in practice is that if you need to cover a chapter of your textbook, you'd read through the entire chapter first, skimming over all of the details and just trying to understand what the bigger picture looks like. After you've done this, then you can read the chapter again, trying to add in a few more of the details and repeat this process until you've learnt as much as you can. Although this can sound like a lot, because you're not trying to understand all of the details the first time you read through, you can skim through the whole chapter really quickly, and by the time you've read through the chapter 3 or 4 times, you'll understand it so much better than if you were to read it through once slowly. This means that this whole process will take the same amount of time, but everything that you learn you'll remember so much better, which makes your studying way more efficient. This leads us on to the final step, which is to learn how to do proper revision. Proper revision really involves the step of testing yourself, called active recall. This idea is all over YouTube, but there are a lot of things that I see people get wrong. The most common advice out there is to do practice tests or flashcards until you learn all of the content that you need to know. The problem is though that these techniques are only good for certain situations and certain types of content. Rather than how you do your revision, what's more important is when you do it and how consistent you are. So many students get so caught up on doing so many flashcards or practice tests that they end up falling behind on their revision, or they don't revise everything that they need to. To be efficient with your revision, you should set up a revision spreadsheet and track exactly what you need to revise and when. But there's more, because practice tests and flashcards often don't allow you to revise everything you need to know in a topic. Instead of only using these techniques, try adding other things like the Feynman technique, mind mapping, or generating your own questions, which will more comprehensively test your knowledge. This will allow you to find gaps in your knowledge so much faster and allow you to be more effective in your revision. But the problem with all of this is that you might be overwhelmed with all of the skills that you need to learn, so watch this video to learn how you can achieve any goal you want effortlessly.